Morgana le Fay stands as one of the first great witches whose name survived both magical record and Muggle myth. Long before wands standardized spellcasting, she wielded magic through raw willpower, mastering wandless enchantment with precision rare even in later centuries. Accounts describe her as capable of manipulating natural forces directly, summoning storms, commanding winds, and mending flesh without touch or tool. Her connection to nature was symbiotic. Her spells didn't force the world to obey but persuaded it to shift in harmony with her will. Unlike other early spellcasters who relied on instinct, Morgana's strength was deliberate study. Ancient scrolls preserved in the archives of early wizarding scholars refer to her as a theorist of the unseen, a title suggesting she understood the framework beneath spells. She saw magic as a fluid system of interconnected forces, healing, illusion, transformation, each a branch from the same root. This conceptual unity would later shape the theoretical backbone of charms and transfiguration, placing her centuries ahead of her time. Her rumored creation of Avalon's magical veil remains her most mysterious feat. If true, Morgana achieved what few could, the stable separation of magical and non-magical spaces using self-sustaining concealment charms. Whether real or allegorical, it demonstrates the level of control she possessed over reality's fabric. In every telling, Morgana stands not merely as a sorceress, but as the origin point of structured witchcraft itself. Intellect fused with elemental power. Helga Hufflepuff's magic was not defined by aggression or spectacle, but by stability, endurance, and purpose, qualities that made her one of the most quietly powerful witches in history. While her contemporaries specialized in conquest or intellect, Helga refined the enchantments that made everyday magic dependable. She was the first recorded witch to perfect large-scale food transfiguration, creating spells that not only produced sustenance but ensured it was safe, nourishing, and immune to spoilage. A discipline later foundational to magical hospitality and even modern potion preparation. Her magic extended far beyond kitchens. The wards she helped weave into Hogwarts' foundations ensured the castle's self-sustaining environment. Staircases that moved, kitchens that replenished themselves, and enchantments that recognized intent. She specialized in protective charms tied to moral condition, enchantments that reacted not to brute magical strength but to purity of intent. This principle defined her house's founding ethos and would later influence the creation of defensive wards used in both magical households and hospitals. Helga's loyalty enchantments were particularly advanced. Her spells could bind objects and even locations to shared moral values, a form of sympathetic magic few others mastered. These enchantments endure in Hogwarts' very walls, still responding to fairness and cooperation over ambition or intellect. While others sought power through domination, Helga proved that mastery lay in harmony, in binding magic not just to words or wands, but to the better instincts of those who wield it. Rowena Ravenclaw's brilliance existed where intellect met enchantment. She viewed magic as a discipline of thought, a structure that, when properly understood, could mirror the precision of logic or mathematics. Her mastery of charms and mental enchantments placed her among the greatest magical theorists in history. Every spell she cast carried a pattern, symmetry, rhythm, and deliberate structure. She was said to believe that the truest magic came not from emotion or instinct, but from clarity of mind, an idea reflected in her most famous creation, her enchanted diadem. The diadem of Ravenclaw was no ordinary relic. It amplified the intelligence of its wearer, but its magic was not parasitic or manipulative. It worked through harmonization, attuning to the witch or wizard's own thought frequency. Such precision suggests Rowena's deep understanding of mental magic, a branch that demands perfect emotional neutrality to avoid corruption. Her other known works include self-updating enchantments woven into Hogwarts itself, allowing corridors and classrooms to shift intelligently in response to student needs. Rowena's architectural enchantments reveal her as both scholar and engineer. She pioneered rune-based spatial logic, the principle that magical spaces could reorganize themselves through encoded intent. The moving staircases, whispering portraits, and adaptive hallways of Hogwarts are all fragments of her design philosophy. Her magic was cerebral but alive, capable of learning, remembering, and adapting, the clearest expression of her belief that intelligence itself could be enchanted into form. Elladora Black belonged to one of the oldest and most powerful pure-blood families in wizarding history. Born into the House of Black during the 19th century, she embodied a form of power rooted not in combat or invention, but in preservation, the control of magic through bloodline, ritual, and fear. Her mastery lay in domestic enchantments, twisted into tools of domination. She developed permanent binding charms that tied house elves to ancestral estates, creating a magical dependency that outlasted generations. These spells were so advanced that undoing them required the same bloodline that cast them, binding magic and lineage into one. Her most infamous legacy was the creation of the macabre Black family tradition of mounting house elf heads on plaques. This was not mere cruelty. It was an act of dark enchantment. Elladora enchanted the preserved heads to retain a semblance of awareness, forcing eternal servitude as punishment for disobedience. It was a display of absolute control, reinforcing the purity ideology that defined her family. The same enchantment logic was later adapted for cursed objects within the Black household, from the screaming portrait of Walburga to the family tapestry that burned out traitorous names. Though never a duelist or scholar, Elladora's influence endured through magical lore, house elf servitude, and pure blood culture. Her rituals institutionalized the belief that heritage itself was magic, a dangerous philosophy that later fueled Voldemort's rise. Through preservation, she ensured darkness survived respectably, disguised as tradition. Merope Gaunt's name often surfaces as tragedy, but beneath her story lies one of the most complex forms of magical potential in the wizarding world, the power of lineage and emotion fused together. A direct descendant of Salazar Slytherin, she inherited an ancient bloodline steeped in Parseltongue and ancestral enchantments. However, centuries of inbreeding had left the Gaunts physically frail and magically unstable, their power trapped under generations of neglect and bitterness. Merope's life became the test of whether inherent magic could survive in a spirit stripped of confidence. Her greatest act, enchanting Tom Riddle Sr. through a love potion, is often remembered as desperate manipulation, yet it reveals astonishing technical control. Crafting a potion capable of sustaining long-term emotional influence requires subtle precision, especially one strong enough to deceive a Muggle mind. That single act demonstrates advanced charm work, potion mastery, and emotional magic intertwined. But when the potion's effect faded and her willpower broke, her magic collapsed with her. This vulnerability exposed how deeply emotional equilibrium governs a witch's magical stability. Still, Merope's legacy endures through her son, Tom Marvolo Riddle. The blood magic and inherited traits she carried, from Slytherin's line of serpentine command to ancient magical intuition, passed directly into him. In her failure lay the seed of one of history's most powerful wizards. Merope stands as proof that magical greatness is not only born from talent, but from the fragile balance between will, emotion, and bloodline. Minerva McGonagall's magic represents the pinnacle of disciplined spellcraft, precision, control, and adaptability fused into one. A master of transfiguration, she excelled in a field known for its near-impossible balance between scientific accuracy and creative intuition. Every transformation, whether turning a desk into a pig or herself into a tabby cat, required exact concentration on form, mass, and intent. McGonagall's animagus transformation, registered officially with the Ministry, demonstrated her command of self-transfiguration. A process that takes years of study and a single lapse of focus can lead to permanent disfigurement. Her academic power, however, never dulled her combat readiness. During both wizarding wars, McGonagall demonstrated mastery of dueling and defensive magic, particularly non-verbal spells, cast with remarkable speed and precision. She coordinated castle-wide enchantments during the Battle of Hogwarts, mobilizing suits of armor and statues through synchronized transfiguration, an act that required split-second magical multitasking. Few witches could sustain that level of magical output while maintaining tactical awareness. Equally impressive was her ability to integrate emotion and logic without losing balance. McGonagall's strength lay not in brute power, but in the clarity of purpose behind every spell. She exemplified the highest order of controlled magic, the ability to channel emotion through structure. Through her, transfiguration evolved from academic discipline to art form. Every spell she cast reinforced the central truth of her craft. Mastery is not in force, but in flawless execution under pressure. Bellatrix Lestrange embodied the raw, unrestrained force of the dark arts. Power without limit, guided only by devotion and madness. Trained personally by Voldemort, she achieved a level of dark magic proficiency that bordered on supernatural. Her dueling record alone places her among the most lethal witches of the modern age. She was capable of casting unforgivable curses without hesitation or remorse, and her Cruciatus curse was notorious even among Death Eaters for its precision and endurance. Bellatrix didn't just torture. She engineered pain, understanding the emotional resonance that amplified each curse's intensity. Her combat style reflected pure instinct, sharpened by obsession. She could deflect and redirect multiple simultaneous spells, often taunting her opponents mid-duel, which indicates a level of confidence grounded in reflex rather than preparation. Her encounter with Sirius Black in the Department of Mysteries showed her ruthlessness. Her later duel with Molly Weasley revealed the cost of overconfidence. Few witches could sustain such ferocity while channeling that much dark magic, an energy that corrodes the caster's own psyche. Bellatrix's lineage, descending from the ancient House of Black, granted her inherent magical resilience and exposure to pure-blood ritual magic from birth. But her greatest strength came from her fanaticism, complete emotional surrender to Voldemort's ideology. It removed restraint, allowing her to tap into forbidden magical depths others would fear to approach. Bellatrix stands as the embodiment of destructive power, brilliance consumed entirely by devotion and chaos. Hermione Granger represents the evolution of magical mastery through intellect, a witch whose power lies in comprehension as much as execution. From her earliest years at Hogwarts, she approached spellcasting not as instinct, but as engineering, dismantling every spell to understand its structure and limitations. Her talent for charms and arithmancy allowed her to manipulate magical formulas with near-academic precision, while her deep knowledge of magical law ensured every enchantment she performed was grounded in theory as much as intuition. She didn't just learn magic, she learned how it worked. Her accomplishments extend far beyond classroom brilliance. Hermione successfully modified existing spells to suit new purposes, from portable fire charms to the undetectable extension charm she perfected for the Horcrux hunt. Such modifications require precise control of magical thresholds, as even slight miscalculations can cause catastrophic magical backlash. Her ability to wield a time turner responsibly, maintaining chronological integrity across dozens of loops, shows unparalleled focus and magical discipline. After Hogwarts, Hermione became instrumental in reforming magical policy at the Ministry, applying theory to practice on a societal scale. She standardized creature rights, restructured spell regulation, and revised outdated magical classifications. This blend of intellect, ethics, and creative innovation marks her as a new kind of witch, one who redefines magic not through power or heritage, but through comprehension and reform. Hermione Granger stands as the ultimate proof that knowledge itself is the most enduring form of magic.